Hello, Wellness Warriors. Welcome to Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. I'm Violet.
And I'm Pat.
Wow, we're talking about what happened to us from doing keto. We're going to give you the good and we're going to give you the bad because I really think that for most people, they want to know how is it going to affect us.
By now, most of you know that I'm doing more like a low carb lifestyle. So when we go through those pros and cons, keep in mind that like they're more related to eliminating added sugar and processed food from your diet.
I mean, obviously, I feel like the first thing everybody's going to ask about, weight loss.
Yeah.
Should we start with the good or the bad on the weight loss thing?
The good. The good.
Okay,
Let's go with the good.
The good on the weight loss, you're lighter.
Yeah. I'll lighter. You?
So for me, it's 70 pounds lost.
Yeah, for me it was more like 50, 55.
Okay. So the benefit of being lighter, I noticed when I'm playing with my daughter, so she's a teenager, but like we do things like riding longboards, we go bike riding, we go to those ab and ab, like in Canada you call it, treetop adventures, they call them in the US. I can actually pull myself up on things so much easier now that I don't weigh so I feel like I have the same amount of muscle, but I'm not lifting as much. So I can actually do more with her. I'm not tired when I'm doing stuff with her. So, and remember, I've always done my sports, but the difference being like, we can actually do it longer now.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I'm
a
not
word
tired.
of warning, like we're not saying that being lighter, if you're not in shape, if you're not doing sport before, don't expect because you're lighter that you're going to be able to do that stuff. But like we were active, even if we were overweight before, we were like active, we were doing sport, we were playing badminton before, we were like longboarding all the time, like biking. So
Snowboarding.
it's just became like easier doing those activities being lighter.
Yeah, for sure. So less tired. Okay, so were there negatives to losing all that weight? I know I have some, but do you have any?
Yeah, I have one. Like we've seen a bunch of video. Depending on where you started from, like before your keto low carb lifestyle, you might end up with a lot of loose skin. And actually, there's not much I think, except maybe for surgery, you can do about that. I'm like having lost 50 pounds. I think I didn't go before I started. I wasn't at the point where I ended up like with a lot of blue skin. So that I'm happy with that. But that's maybe something that can happen if you are really overweight before you started a low carb / keto lifestyle.
So what's really interesting, ladies, the loose skin part of the story. So for those of us who've had kids, you already like might have had some weight gain and then weight loss. So you kind of know there's a loose skin possibility. So I feel like that was not a big surprise. It was not as big of a surprise as when you've walked around with that extra weight for years, how your skin doesn't bounce back. So like, I feel like when I had my daughter and then came back to my normal weight, the loose skin looked different. And even I had some stretch marks, but it wasn't as bad as coming back to this, like coming back to my normal size after walking around for 12 years overweight, like how much of a difference that really did make. So, and I mean, there's certain, like when you want to wear something low cut and then like, so it doesn't look the same, right? And I had to put my brain around coming to terms with that, right? Like my health, obviously more important than weighing what I weigh. And the other thing is that for us ladies, again, the size of your breasts are going to change. And like, so I'm a smaller cup size now than I was before. I had to put my brain around that. Like that was not a happy.
Sorry.
Apparently wasn't happy for him either. No. But that wasn't like a happy like place in my mind, especially since funny enough, like before doing keto and before having my daughter, I was a certain cup size. And I actually went a little below the cup size that I was even back then. So that was a little bit of a mind twist that happened there. But again, I've gotten used to it. But these are changes that actually happen.
Yeah. If I can add something, I do feel that one product that made maybe a difference in that was like adding collagen to our coffee. So I didn't notice like with the skin, like after a little while of adding collagen to the coffee, that like the skin looked better. So
yay, I guess I look better.
So little tips.
No. So apparently there's a little bit of improvement that's happened. So I'm happy to hear that. Because honestly, ladies, it was something that was in my head. So I'm not even gonna lie. Like we're being honest today. Like that was something that when I saw that, it was kind of like, But, I do feel, I mean, I do agree with you. I feel like it's better than before. But anyways, so that was something.
I feel for me was a huge pro was like, but yeah, the first pro was like clothing like is so much easier. Like you can fit in way more stuff, and you can shop at way more places than I used to do before. So that was a big improvement, going from size, I think at my worst I was like size 40, and sometimes like when I went to shop I was able to fit it in a 32 or 34 size pants. So that was like and you just like your extra large shirts are going to large, and even sometimes medium for winter jacket. So that's a good like that's very like
Positive.
yeah, positive, and it's like it boosts your self-confidence. Like that's a good yeah,
So that was encouraging for you.
totally encouraging.
So you're probably going to understand from this how come we're so different. So for me, I've never loved or even liked shopping for clothing. Going back even as my teen, I hate shopping for clothing. So even prior to doing keto, this man every season gets new clothes. When I lost the weight and all of a sudden had to buy new clothes. So clothing was not a positive for me at all. Like it, first of all, I guess lucky in the fact that wherever I was in my weight, I accepted. I always bought clothes that made me look great. So when I lost the weight, it was like all of that stuff that I had, I have to replace. And I was sad. And not because, well, I mean, some of them just because I like them and I won't get to wear them anymore. But like, I have to go shopping. So I'm not a shopper. I like comfy clothes. And if I'm going to dress up and go out, like I like my clothes to look a certain way. It's hard to be this size and look the way that I have in my head from the Caribbean, whatever. It's hard to be this size and look the way that I have in my head. So that was a difficult point. I don't like, was there a positive for me at all in clothing? Seriously, no. It's expensive for women to replace their clothes. And I mean everything. Underwear, everything. Ladies, underwear. Like you know how much bras cost. I had to replace them all. So I was not happy with regard to the clothing aspect of this story, even in the smallest amount.
The thing is, the usually when you start keto, the weight loss is happening very fast. So for me, what was frustrating, the frustrating part is that since like the weight loss is very, very fast, and if you just bought clothes, you might end up like having to give it away because they don't fit. Like within 6 months, you're gonna have to replace your whole wardrobe.
So again, one of the frustrations that I did have is that, of course, I go to work, and so at some point I had to shop because I started to look a little frumpy because everything was too big. So that's just something to think about. Like set aside maybe a little bit of a budget. Once you you're gonna get started, I would start putting money aside right away because you're gonna replace your entire wardrobe.
The next point, like I wanted to cover, is how people react. So going to work, if like me, you have like part of your family you see once a year, those like old aunts and uncles, it's a radical change. So like I remember like going to a family reunion my aunt organized, they didn't recognize me. so like
they didn't recognize us.
Yeah.
I think it was just because we were together that they knew who we were.
Yeah, true. But like so like it's a positive if people react like some of your family and friends are going to be like, oh cool, like what did you do, like you look great. But like you have those other people that are going to say, oh, like are you sick, like what happened. So that's like how people react. So there's some good and some bad.
So obviously I come to work every day, so there's the people at work as well. And I work in a building. I have to pass through many people to get to my office. And yeah, I remember getting the, are you sick? Like, are you okay? Like there were people who were, I mean, I love everybody that I work with. And there were people who were very worried, but cautious in saying something to me. And so it was very interesting, like the months that went by before I got you look good. It was that on purpose, which I thought was the most polite way to say that, right? Because I feel like, and it was followed up by, oh, thank goodness, I thought you were ill. So I do think that most people are going to be happy for you. And I do think that most people are going to be curious about what we did. I know that I had a lot of curiosity once they realized that I was fine. It was like, oh, what did you do? Da, 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 da. But you know, the other side of it is those few people that react with, that's not healthy, you shouldn't be doing that, and kind of this negative reaction to you. How do you react to that? So what's really interesting to me is that the first few of those I got, I don't think I reacted well. I think I was very defensive, and I think a little bit insulted, just because, like, I'm the most cautious person that I know. If I'm doing something, you know, I researched the heck out of it before I started doing it. So, like, I think I was a little bit insulted as well, in this idea that I wouldn't be taking my health seriously. I don't know, what kind of reactions did you have for the people who were negative?
I don't know. I think, I honestly.
Or did you have people that were negative? I don't know.
No, yeah, for sure. Like I said, like there was there. I think my boss was the first one. Like he was like almost like suspicious. But honestly, I think I didn't care, because I knew what I was doing was like right, and don't like I think I was owning my stuff. I was convinced of what I was doing, and I was convinced if it was the good thing. I had a super good teacher about how to do it. So I think that there was. I think at this point, no negative people could have made me change my mind. So yeah. So you have to own what you have to believe in what you do. You have to own it, and don't worry, you're gonna like encounter those people. I know I did, and like I kept somewhat on track at the beginning, keto, but like switched a little bit more to low carb after. But like yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that people often ask me about is, how does it impact your health? And so it's funny to me, because there's so many doctors out there talking about how keto is a healthy way to manage diabetes, to manage like heart health, and you know, like some PCOS, gout, so many health problems we have are pushed because we have too much sugar. And yet I still get people asking, like, how did keto impact health? So I'm going to talk about how it impacted my health. First of all, I've mentioned on this channel, so all my wellness warriors already know, that I started all of this because of inflammation in my hip. But for the new people, I had inflammation in my hip, in my knees, in my, like every joint that you could think of, I was inflamed. I was not aware that I was inflamed. I blamed all of it on sports. I had falls in skiing, and then falls in snowboarding. The falls in snowboarding were serious. I had falls on my longboard. I had falls on my rollerblades. I had falls on my bicycle. I had a lot of falls. So there always seemed to be something I could point towards to say, oh, that fall caused this or that. That's all gone. So at the age of 45, all the inflammation that I had been living with from the time that I was 20, in my 22s, let's say, gone, right? That to me is amazing. But then we add to it that my weight went down, which tells me, just because again, all the doctors are saying this, if you are overweight, you are insulin resistant. Because that's what it means, right? Your body is putting the sugar away as fat. So those are two amazing things that for me, like in terms of positives, just having my health improve like that, amazing. Yeah. Do you have positives you want to share before I talk about my negatives? Because I do have some negatives.
For me, it was blood pressure. I was getting to a point where I was like genuinely like getting worried about like diabetes. So I'm pretty sure I was pre-diabetic. Blood pressure, like I did start before going keto, like monitoring it. Like I did purchase a little monitor, and it was like, okay, like if I don't do something about that, like I'm going like to the medication route, where I didn't want to go, because at the same time I was reading articles that like, oh, this medication for high blood pressure causes cancer, and I was like, okay, no, I don't want to go there. So it was that. But like also, I didn't have like as much inflammation, I think, as you did. But for me, it was more like the back. Like once in a while, my back would completely lock. So it was like muscle spasm. Like my back was like completely blocked, and like I was like 2, 3, 4 days like not being able to move, and like that was like tough. And for sure, probably it was more caused by my weight, I think. But like so yeah, so after that, no back problem for the last like 2 years. I haven't like not even like came close to like do a little move, and oh no, I don't want to go there. So
Negatives, and you wouldn't think there'd be any. And it's a negative that's maybe not a true medical or health negative, in the sense that it's bad for me, but it's frustrating for me. The medical negative that I keep living is, as I clean up, I find more things I need to clean up. So like I got my weight and my inflammation under control, and then I started to understand that, oh, these vegetables, nightshades, I can't manage. So then I pull the nightshades out, and then it's, oh, by the way, you can't have too much protein. So it's like, I feel like it's weird that it's like, it's a negative, but it's not a negative, because actually what I'm learning is that there are things that I was doing to myself that I shouldn't have been doing to myself this whole time. The positive is I did get cheese back, so that was a good side again. But like I've been learning things about how food affects Violet. Now, again, it's how it affects Violet. Like I feel like one of the things that's really weird about keto is that the people who do it and get themselves like really clean start to really see how different foods affect us. So it's kind of like that. I don't know if any of you guys have ever done an elimination diet, where the doctor will put you on like really basic food, and then they'll add back one thing for a week to see how you react, and then they take it away and they add back something else, and it's basically trying to find what are the things you're allergic to. And I feel like that's exactly what's going on with me. Is like I've gotten myself down to like such a basic level in terms of my food, and my own choice to do that. But then like if I eat something that's like my body doesn't manage well, I notice it. So the positive there, and I mean, I said it's kind of a negative, but like it's still a positive. The positive there is that I no longer eat the amount of nightshades that I used to eat. I'm not going to say I've completely eliminated them, because I haven't. Every once in a while, I have a little bit of tomato or a little bit of, I never have potatoes. So that's like out of the question.
It's not to say that they're not good for your health. Like you don't react well to them.
Me, like Violet doesn't. But again, remember that I have thalassemia, and like, so I have my own health things. But I feel like this is part of the interesting part of being a person. We all react differently, right? And for some reason, now I understand that in some of what was happening, some of it might have been these nightshades, which I had no problem with in the past. Root vegetable, like so potatoes and like those kind of nightshades, and all kinds of peppers. Like, I had no problem with those things, but now I understand that could have been why I was feeling so part of why I was feeling so bad. So this is another little thing that I mean, it's a good and it's a bad at the same time. It's like one of those, you're on the edge. You're not really sure, do you like it or not? I kind of don't like it, but I like it, because at least I know I'm building the healthiest possible body right now, because I really do limit the amount of nightshades that I allow in my life. So I know I'm doing better, but it's still
limiting your variety of food.
See, now this is where, again, all my wellness warriors who know me know that I don't care about that much. So it's the thing is, it's not hard to do. It's more the frustration that I live when it's happening. So like when I'm having the reaction, when I haven't had a reaction for a long time, and then I go and investigate and like, oh, okay, ate that. And then I wait a few weeks and I eat it again and have the reaction and go, shoot, okay, so there's one more thing that now I can't eat, right? But the thing is, it's better for me to know than to have been eating it all that time and I'm thinking I'm building a good body, and I wasn't, right? I was actually building a body that had this like hole in the wall that would let all the air in the winter, and I wouldn't have known.
Before we were doing keto, we ate like for us like so many bad things, so many crap that even after you think you might like eat something healthy, but like it makes you react like badly to a certain type of food. So I think you just maybe after you start keto, like just keep listening to your body,
Yeah.
like what it tells you. Yeah, and maybe another negative I want to cover, like what about all those cardiologists with saturated fat that are telling that the keto is not good. There's just it's too fat. There's too much protein. There's not enough, and you will encounter that. Like for maybe 20 people that are saying that keto is good, maybe you're gonna have like 40 that's gonna tell that it's bad.
A lot of you guys have mentioned that your doctors were like, no, don't do that. I'm lucky. I haven't had a doctor. Well, then, of course, the way I present my information is different too, because I know that keto is seen as a diet. So I present that I eliminated sugar from my diet. That's how I present, right? I don't tell them how much I eliminated it. I just said I eliminated sugar from my diet. Most doctors are like, "Oh, great, good for you," right? Like they're impressed. But the thing is I think when you know how to present,
Yeah.
like you end up
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
better reactions from your health professionals. If you walk in and say, "Oh, I'm doing keto," like they're
They think
gonna
you eat beef, bacon, and
they
cheese,
yeah.
and then like
Honestly, like if they think you
Yeah.
eat bacon all the time, and honestly, if I count the number of times per month that I eat bacon, if it comes out to 4, which is interesting because people who eat standard American diet, I think eat more bacon than me.
And next topic, what about like the food in the house, the way you shop, pros and cons? You don't shop, you don't buy food. Okay, so that's a question for me.
Okay, so I'm bad. I hate shopping. As I said before, food falls into shopping. I don't like shopping. However, I do think keto has changed the food that we have in our house in different ways. So, in my house, you can talk about your house
Yeah,
after.
just go. Yeah,
In, the kids don't really like my house because, first of all, I don't buy it if it's not on the list. And when I make the list, there aren't cookies going on the list. There's not chips or whatever. So, like, unless my daughter specifically comes into Google lists or whatever it's called, whatever that app is called, and adds chips to the list or cookies to the list, it does. She has access. If she doesn't put it there, it doesn't get bought. So I will admit that the kids like being at your house more than they like being at my house because there's not as much junk at my house. The other thing that changed a little bit, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, I buy smaller portions. Like honestly, so whereas I'm not going to stop her from eating something, I don't create the story where she has it at abundance. Because, well, first of all, because my daughter is that kid that, oh, buy me this, and she's going to have one, and I'm going to throw the rest in the garbage.
Yeah.
Because she's that kid, right? But the flip side of the coin is if she ends up eating it all, I don't mind because it was a small container anyways. So like either way we go, I'm like pretty okay with it. So that's kind of the way I did shopping. I mean, obviously I have my food for me and I have the staples of food that she eats. So yeah, there is pasta in my house. There is rice, I think, for those rare occasions that we make tacos or whatever, like things that like require rice for the kids. So rice and pasta do exist in my home, but again, not to the quantities that I used to have. I mean, Caribbean used to buy the big bag of rice. Like honestly, I buy like a bag like this and it lasts forever. What about your house?
Yeah, my house. I do like what you just said about like buying smaller quantities. I think with the COVID situation, I've been also like trying to do my shopping at the local grocery store. So I just go there, buy what I need. My two boys were more like creatures of routine. So if like they have a routine, that's why like you just said that the kids are happier at my house. But same as you, like I try to buy smaller quantities. Like for sure, they're much better food than before, except maybe for the chips and the cookies. Rarely now we'll do pasta. I have to be like in a rush. So meats, lots of meats, lots of vegetables. Like we've tried to be more selective. Like in the last few months with the vegetables, like we love salad. My boys love salad, so Caesar salad was like a staple. It could be like 2-3 times a week, and that didn't matter. Like they liked it. But like I'm trying to be more careful with the vegetables and lately.
I will add to that coming like meeting your boys, the difference in our backgrounds really showed because where my daughter a plate of food means there's either rice or pasta there. your boys were actually used to having vegetables, and there could be no rice or pasta on the plate.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a far stretch for you to just stop making the rice and pasta. Whereas for my house, like with my daughter, it was a big stretch. Like when I stopped making rice and pasta, like she really did have to like rethink that. Oh, when I eat with mom, like there's no rice or pasta on the plate. Like it's some kind of vegetable and some kind of meat, and like that's really how she's cooking, right? Now, of course, she has the luxury of eating at my mother's whenever she feels like it. So it's not like I'm torturing her. But the point being that she often selects to eat with me, right? So somehow it kind of clicked, and she accepted that. Okay, this is cool too. I felt like your boys, it was easier for them because they were used to that on some level.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, I don't even think they like rice. In all fair, like
Not
rice,
really,
like we like at my mom's, like we were kind of like that's what's there. Like you eat it or you don't eat it.
Yeah. At some point, your mom started making pasta.
Yeah.
I remember, like it took a little bit, took like not so long actually. She started making pasta because they were not eating the rice. One like notable like change. There's no fruits anymore in the house. Like I was before doing low carb keto. I was eating fruit. I was loving fruit. I had my grapefruits. So it was more like citrus like family kind of food. But like right now, I was buying some apples for the boys, and they were spoiling in the fridge. So there's a switch that naturally appeared. So even when I was making their lunch for school, they had their little sandwich, but it was more like cheese and granola bars. But like they even lost interest in the fruits. Funny enough.
So it's funny because my daughter used to ask for fruit. So I've never been a fruit eater. So difference in households again. Since learning about the danger of fruit itself, so specifically the fructose in fruit, since we had that conversation, she doesn't ask for fruit any longer. Like that she's accepted, she's not going to eat anymore, or very rarely. I think once my mom bought watermelon and she had some of that, and the other day they had mango. So, but on a general basis, there's always fruit at my mom's house. She rarely eats it because she understands how bad fruit is for her. So that was a positive. If I look at anything that came out of this, the fact that she's put fruit down, I'm fine with everything else she's doing right now, because she's pretty good at like keeping herself kind of in check where the fruit comes. So to me, that's a big win.
Mm-hmm.
It's obvious to me that the questions that came towards us were because people want to know, they want to understand, like, what is it that I'm really putting myself in for to do a ketogenic lifestyle? And I feel like it's not bad. It's different, right? You're going to be doing different things because you're going to be eating different things, and then you're going to have more energy and you're going to have more health. So I really feel like the positives so outweigh the negatives, but they're there.
And you're going to develop new tastes, like in you get into that, like I can guarantee you in 2-3 months, like you're gonna taste something sweet, you're not gonna like it. So you develop new tastes, new for new flavors that you thought before that you didn't like it, that I do, like plain yogurt, my best example. So yeah, there's more positive than negatives.
Absolutely. Teespring, Patreon, in the description below. Love making these videos for you guys. Thanks for watching Mind Blowing Health and Wellness with Violet, Pat Chat Edition. Talk to you again next week.
See you next week.